Has there been a bigger glow up on any vegetable except for the cauliflower? It can do anything. And today it is going to be cauliflower gnocchi. It's also going to be vegan, and it's also going to be gluten-free. Vegan until I simmer it in butter and cheese, of course. First things first, we're going to cut it, steam it until very tender and let it cool. I may not have you around while I do that. Could be boring. It's an intense recipe. Hold on. Steamer. It doesn't matter how you cut it. Here's a tip. When steaming cauliflower or roasting cauliflower, cut it in half and then cut down that center spine to reduce all this kind of crumble. Okay, that would have been a boring 20 minutes had you stuck around for me steaming and cooling that cauliflower. 25 minutes actually. We're back to the action. Now we need to squeeze out any excess moisture from the cauliflower, so we're just kind of left with the fiber. So I am going to show you this trick. Longer the better, because it's going to get more towel coverage. So we're rolling it up. You can already see that moisture is kind of peeking through. This is really good time for you to get someone in your house to help you, because you really need to create as much of a twist and pressure on this as you can. Now, if no one else is with you, what I do is I go into the bathroom and into the shower. I put this end down and put my foot on it, and then I twist with two hands, because it does really require two-hand twist on either side, or a foot stomp. Voila, a lot of moisture has come out. That tea towel is kind of, soaked up and pulled out so much of that moisture. So next step is to blend it. The dough scraper. Make sure your bench is nice and clean, because the steps after this, we're going straight down here. Cauliflower is in, it's cooled down to room temp, and we are going to blitz that up. We're going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil, and we're going to season it quite liberally here. About a tablespoon of salt. If it's not folding in onto itself, it's a good idea to stop and give the edges shove down so that they start falling in on themselves. It's folding in now. Give it a little touch, make sure it's nice and smooth. Cauliflower paste. I am using today a gluten-free flour. Not because I need to, but because I thought I'd just give it a try. And this one worked really well. Starch, which is maize and tapioca, and rice flour, and it has vegetable gums. But I thought I'd give this one a go, because I feel like the hashtag's vegan and gluten-free. They're going to just get me a surefire kind of viral thing. A good viral thing, not a bad viral thing. So give your bench, which is nice and clean, make sure, a little dusting of flour. And then we're going to dump the cauliflower straight on top. Now you can see it's quite dry. So I'm not going to use a measuring cup today. I'm just going to pour and fold and stop when I've got the right consistency. However, per one head of cauliflower, double fist size, I suppose, I don't know, brain size cauliflower. One brain size cauliflower, you're probably going to need about 1.5 cups of flour. Okay, so onto there, we're going to kind of add about 1/4 cup at a time. Now already we're adding a bit more, so we're nowhere near dough texture. A little bit more like dough. Not quite there. It is coming together to resemble something. A bit more. It is really starting to look like a dough should. Get it together into a kind of little ball. It's manageable, but it's not too floury. Don't none me, that's beautiful. As the dough rests, any remaining moisture in that cauliflower is actually going to soak in. So the longer you let it sit, the more flour you have to add. Let's create a little log. Half. How do you say cauliflower in Italian? Cavolfiore. Dust as we go to keep it from sticking. Cavolfiore. It's called learning. Okay. Misshapen little gnocchi roll. We've used this and this today. It's fantastic, and the food processor, of course. Your gnocchi into any shape. Cut straight and squeeze. That's cute. You could cut on the diagonal, which is quite possibly my favorite. You end up with these little diamond shapes. You could also cut an indent with a fork. The purpose of the indentations is to help gather the sauce. I'm not going to do the fork today because the way I'm going to cook it, whole lot of flavor, no sauce. Okay, I'm going to show you a trick that I learned from Warren Mendez. He learned it from Matt Preston. So when rolling gnocchi, do the cutting on baking paper, because that way when you go to pop it into your boiling water or wherever you're cooking it, when you go to cook it, you can just slide the gnocchi straight in rather than double handling it, which I'll have to do with these guys. Smart, huh? I'll be right back. I'm going to clean up. Okay guys, promised you a trick. As usual, it's inspired by pure laziness. I am going to cook these little cauliflower dumplings just like you would cook a Chinese pot sticker. Ba-ba! We are going to oil a pan. I'm using a non-stick pan that has a lid that fits. It doesn't have to be a matching lid, mine's not. Turn it on to medium. The thing with cooking your gnocchi this way is you can only cook a single layer. But by cooking it this way, we're going to end up with a perfectly steamed yet crispy sided gnocchi dumpling. Now you want to give them a little bit of space around them. You don't want to jam it in too tight. Otherwise you'll just end up with one big fat dumpling cake. Okay, so they're starting to bubble. Now straight away, this is where we add the water. We're going to add enough water so that it just comes up the side to about halfway, maybe a little bit more. It's not covering those dumplings at all. Lovely wading pool. Pop the lid on, and the next step, you are going to cook by sound. That initial frying is going to sound like a big fat watery bubble of fry. What we're going to be listening out for in about 5 minutes is for that sound to go quite high pitched, more of a crackle and a sizzle. What that will mean is that all the water has been absorbed into the dumplings, and the bottom of each of those gnocchi is starting to crisp up and go golden, which is heaven. 5 minutes. Don't go far. You'll regret it, you'll burn them. Okay guys, let's have a look. Can you hear the difference? It's a sharper sizzle. It's not watery and bubbly. If you are here for the veganity of this dish, it may be time for you to look away. Season this however you like it and eat it with joy. So we're still on vegan time, everyone. Yes, it's time zone. We're about to move into the land of dairy. Sorry guys, every time I say something's vegan, it ends up having cheese in it. I'm sure there are substitutes you can use. Perhaps even a toasted walnut crumb with olive oil and garlic and chili would be delicious. Try that. Oh, look at that. So gently, these are still gnocchi. You still have to be absolutely gentle and careful. But underneath here is beautiful golden edges, and the dumplings are lovely and soft. Slide them over to one side. I'm going to add some butter and squash in a clove of garlic straight into that pan. Sorry vegans, this isn't to offend. I've got you as far as I could take you. A little bit of chilli. Let's put some thyme leaves in there too. Completely, tiny bit more oil. So now I am tossing that gnocchi around in that beautiful butter, garlic and thyme. Lemon zest. That is going to be the perfect accompaniment to all these lovely flavors. I'm going to cover the whole thing in some beautiful parmesan into that bubbling deliciousness. Pan is going off. Cut a tiny little cheek off your lemon for a little bit of squeezing. There we go. I'm going to slide that straight into this beautiful dish. It smells fantastic. More cheese. And that, my friends, is vegan to a point, but ultimately delicious, gluten-free cauliflower gnocchi. Oh. Yum. It's fluffy. It's so soft and fluffy and tender. It's got that crispy edge. Try this one. I say you should try this one. It's very impressive. Come on. You want some, don't you?